Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Anime-Zing Radio. As you can see, we have no Doug. He's working on the railroad, so I'm your host, Angela Rose, and joined in the co-host spot by Darren Starling,
Who's that?
who's not dead.
Not yet.
And hello, Ross. Hello, John. Yeah, I suppose now we'll actually start with a topic that we may or may not stay on. But have you watched any new anime this week, or have you just been too busy working?
I've been too busy working. To put it in perspective, I did, and this is a rarity for me nowadays, but with Bojangles, I did 55-ish hours this week, if that says anything, on top of my business and being rained on all day on Monday and Friday.
Ooh. Now, I have to ask, how cold did it get over where you are yesterday?
The lowest temperature was overnight. Let's see. Yesterday it got down into the low 50s, I think, throughout the day. Upper 40s, low 50s. I don't quite remember. But the lowest point it got there this week was around 30 something around Tuesday or Wednesday night because we
I
had a freeze watch.
I
And
say
it's supposed
this
to be 80 degrees tomorrow.
I say this because we got snow yesterday. New England had the forthcoming of winter.
Sounds about right.
Yep. Um.
We were in fall spring, so
Yeah. We had fall spring. I think at the end of February. So
we always have fall spring that lingers around. Because what happened was we had 70 and 80-degree temps for a week, and then it dipped back down into the 40s and 50s, and then it stayed that way for a week and a half. Then it went back into the 70s and 80s,
uh,
and now we're back into the 50s and 60s, and supposedly next week we're back into the 70s and 80s.
uh,
Here's an idea. It's 61 out now. The low
and
tonight is the low tonight is 48. The high tomorrow is 85, and then the high on Tuesday is 71.
yeah, we the high for tomorrow is 65, but that's New England for you. And it's currently it's yeah, the highs for the week are pretty much going to be in the 60s. Lows, we got it one day where low is 37, 35. And then Ross says, "Come down to the south. It's warm down here." Ross, my mom has been trying to get me to move to Florida for years. I don't do well with the humidity down there during the summers.
Yeah, and unfortunately, fortunately for him, would have been funny that Doug missed the humidity that we get to experience here in the Carolinas because he came down in October, September, October. If he'd have been just a month or so and a half earlier, then he would have felt what a scorcher um, North Carolina can be. Even though I know he got a taste of it while he was in Atlanta.
Oh yeah. Um, and John Knight in the chat says he finally voted for the Crunchyroll Anime Awards. I have not. Um, I tend to kind of I tend to not really pay attention to award shows as a whole because they're to some degree or another, in my opinion, rigged. But
Well, I I would say Crunchyroll's is generally the most rigged of the bunch. Just saying, I'm just gonna say it's true.
and Ross is saying award shows are always rigged. Not
Um,
not
even
always.
I will give credit to Anime Corner and Anime Trending. They because they're not tied to just certain titles from to an extent. I would say that they are I would say that they're a more accurate representation of the fan base because they include everything and not just shows that are aired on a particular service or held by certain licensors.
I mean, also the argument could be made that those two sites have a much broader global audience than Crunchyroll does.
I would say so too.
And
Um,
that would also make it a little more, if not accurate, definitely a very it definitely indicative of the whole world as opposed to just certain countries.
mhm. Even though Crunchyroll has kind of made their presence known in a decent amount of the Western world. What North? Yeah, no, the Eastern world.
But it's not Crunchy is don't get me wrong, I have a Crunchyroll subscription. I enjoy the service, but it is definitely limited
Oh, I
compared.
agree.
Um, case in point, I went looking. My wa- my want to watch list for this season was ridiculously long, longer than it's been in a long time, and a number of the shows I had on my list were not on Crunchyroll. Some of them I haven't found because at the first pass of trying to get everything on the apps watch list, some just hadn't started airing yet,
Uh,
and then I got busy with you know everything. So I'm caught up with exactly one new show and one season two.
and like I said, due to everything going on, I am caught up with absolutely nothing.
And well, I suppose I'll count Apothecary Diaries because that's a new part two of season two. So I'm caught up with that. Caught up with Windbreaker season two and Anne Shirley, which I'm actually really enjoying.
So, is it accurate to Anne of Green Gables in any way, or has it been too long and you're not 100% sure?
It is accurate. It is accurate to a point. It is definitely an interpretation, and there is stuff left out. But 2 episodes in, it hits the major points of the book.
Okay.
A lot of background exposition just kind of get its info dumped in like a 2 minute scene in episode one, but that makes sense. But that makes sense because if it's a 12 episode season and you're taking a good sized novel, so it makes sense that they would cut background. Um, and Ross is bringing up a thing for tonight. For you, Darren. I'm unable to watch Makina San Anime Episode 1. You can't find it to watch on anywhere except where people upload it on Daily Motion.
Ross, I will say this now, you're not looking hard enough.
Um, and that brings up an interesting point. Netflix does not have My Happy Marriage episode 12 due to quote production delays. I know it's available else. I know it already aired in Japan. I know 12 and 13 aired in Japan. I don't believe they aired legally in the States because that was a Netflix exclusive, as far as I know, in this country.
I'm sorry, which one? Is
My
the
Happy Mar- My Happy
oh,
Marriage season two.
okay.
But again, one of those when I went to check the week after episode 11. I could it wasn't up, and there were delay, and then I read there were delays, and then life got in the way, and well, priorities became new shows. And John Knight points out that that today is the 1 year anniversary of Kaiju 8. Kaiju 8 so good. Kaiju 8 is good. Season 2 comes in July. Really looking forward to that. And looks like John's finishing up some stuff from last season on the dubs. Apothecary Diary Season 2, Episode 11, Headhunted to Another World finale, and Guild Receptionist Episode 11. John, we've talked about Guild Receptionist because all three of us watched that, and that was a good show. Far better than I expected it to be, not gonna lie.
I'd say it was definitely one of the more fun shows of the season.
I will definitely agree with that. I was expecting it to be I was expecting it to be more cookie cutter. But but you said you haven't watched anything new. Have you heard any I assume what little I assume your social media feeds, much like my own, show a lot of anime news and whatnot. Have you heard anything about anything potentially standing out this season?
I saw one clip from Takamine, which I kind of glossed over. I really haven't taken the time to actually really look into anything because I'm trying to avoid spoilers. Um, as far as stuff that's standing out this season, I haven't really seen anything, to be honest. The probably the one clip I did watch was from the Can a Boy Girl Friendship Survive? Where, and then this case, you got the one mischievous girl picking on the other girl, and the other girl picks her up and basically pins her up against the wall, one-handed in a very threatening aura for picking on her about something in front of the main male character.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Sadly,
Mhm. I think I've also seen several people post something from something called Kowloon Generic Romance.
I
Mhm. And it's
that
actually got a fairly good score.
interesting because that didn't come across my feeds at all. Granted, granted, today was the day my friends were doing the everybody get together and watch all the episode ones, but I didn't go because I wasn't feeling good earlier.
Well, I'm glad you're feeling better now.
Yep. And I think I just needed a day to be lazy.
Yeah, I haven't had that in about in a little over a month.
I was gonna say what, a month?
Ever since they brought us back from the stores we were in to start setting up our store, that's when my free time vanished. Because I went from being able to tell them to kick rock to okay, now I'm stuck here from 9 o'clock to 2 o'clock every single day. Now, granted, I didn't mind it because I didn't have a whole lot going on. But when it started reaching into the end of March, I'm like, okay, now I gotta go.
Yep. And then,
So thankfully, I think I should be caught up Monday or Tuesday, provided everything goes right, and I should be able to start getting everyone on a consistent schedule.
yay for consistency.
And then after that, I can definitely start watching anime, I guess.
Um, and then we've got comments. Ross says he dropped Takamine-san last week, made him angry. I don't know if that one was even on my radar.
It wasn't. It's the one. Please don't take them off.
Oh, that was a you show. That was you guys.
I think Doug said particularly me.
It sounds right. And John says, "Have I watched?" Asking me if I've watched My Hero Academia Vigilantes. Uh, it's one of the ones being simuldubbed. No, I haven't actually watched that. There was too much other stuff on our list. Um, and we're even behind on that. And then Ross says he's gonna wait a while to watch Vigilante when it gets to episode 8 or 9 so he can binge. Some sh- some shows are just better when you binge a whole bunch at once. So long as it's not like you don't wait too long.
Oh, I'll say this: the one show that I binged, probably the most recent show that I binged and binged hard, was Slime, and I was so. Even though I wish I'd have been keeping up with it, that was one show that was very easily bingeable.
For me, it was the a large chunk of season 1 of My Happy Marriage. I ended up watching, I think, the first half to 3/4 of the season basically over the course of 3 days,
Mm.
and then just kept at it once I caught up. But I haven't binged anything in a while. But with short episodes, with short being a relative term, when an anime episode is under 30 minutes long, you can binge 2 or 3 episodes
In no time at all.
in basically less time than most movies.
Hmm. You
Uh,
know, it's funny. I'll never forget this. When Dragon Ball was first coming back in the form of Super, the Beerus was asking Whis how long it would take them to get to Earth from where they were at. And he said approximately 22 minutes and da 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 da. And Beerus casually said in both Japanese and in English, same thing. So, about the length of your average anime episode. I hate long flights.
oh yeah, no long haul. I've done enough long haul flights at this point.
It was just funny to say that he hated that 22 minutes was a long flight, but sometimes it's true. You got some anime where the episode will, like, that was really 20 minutes long. It didn't seem that long. And then you got others where they'll drag, it seems like they drag the whole 20 minutes you watch them.
Yep. And for you, John Knight says he watched 100 Girlfriends. He's been watching it dubbed. 100 Girlfriends season 2, episode 11. I know you and Doug were watching that one.
Yep. Let's see. Was that was that we're getting to the end of we're getting to the end of season 2 here. Ross, please tell me if they actually translated him saying everything that appeared on the screen in episode 12. That I'm really curious to see how they're going to pull that one off. Because the thing about English is not made to be spoken quickly. Every other language, is made to be like on rapid fire. Spanish, everything flows because I got Hispanics at work. Some of them from Mexico, they can speak fast, but my ones from Puerto Rico, there are times when if I need help translating, my people from Mexico can't even understand them because they're speaking so dang fast.
Yep. Uh,
Even though
can
they speak the exact same language.
that gets into regional dialects because Mexican Spanish is different from Puerto Rican Spanish, is different from Dominican, is different from European.
Oh, I'm aware. I'm just saying though, at the pace that they go,
Oh yeah.
it is it like it's always funny to me when I'm trying to understand them, and then I ask my employees that actually speak Spanish to give me a hand, and even they have to tell them to slow down, and I'm just like, okay, but in general, English is not a romantic language and is honestly one of the least flowing languages. That's why it's so hard for many other languages or
Oh,
people that speak anything other than English to learn English because how nothing flows in English.
English because English is a bastard child of Latin and German. Uh,
and and
almost
also then you
almost
got
literally.
yep. And it's funny though, you got British English, the UK English, which is supposedly proper English, and then you got American English, and then depending on where in the country you go, you got about what, 10, 12 different more types of English?
We've got American English, we've got Canadian English, we've got Australian English.
Then we got Southern English, Northern English,
Uh,
hillbilly English.
I would argue hillbilly is a variant of Southern.
No, there's no.
And then again, then again, then again, Boston's its own English. Um,
Frickin' frickin' the English? Nope.
no hablo inglés.
No hablo inglés, solo hablo español.
Uh, now, Ross's commentary. I'm gonna skip ahead. Yeah, to answer your question about how to girlfriends, yes, Darren, they did. He apologizes to John Knight for spoiling at the end of episode 12. Um,
Oh
and
wow. I am really curious. What they probably did was have him speak all of that at a normal rate and then had to speed up the clip because there is no way in heck that anyone speaking English can keep up with all of that. There's no way.
I don't know the context, but I know some, not necessarily to the pace of one of the Romance languages, but some people up here can talk really freaking fast. And then unrelated to that, Ross says, I'm watching for right now a heartbreak, assuming it will get lighthearted soon, romance anime called The Too Perfect Saint Gets Tossed Aside by Her Fiance and Sold to Another Country.
Yes, I saw that.
I was gonna say that sounds like that was on your list.
Mm,
You or Doug or both.
yep.
And but yet trends sometimes I will say, kind of on this point of language and translations and the like, I will say, and watching Anne Shirley subtitled is a little bit odd because it is written by the book is written by a Canadian writer and it is set in Prince Edward Island. So it feels a little bit odd watching it in Japanese. But I tend to watch a lot of my anime subtitled.
Like what?
I might I might actually go back. That might be one I go back and watch an episode in English to see if it actually makes a difference. But time. And Ross says he doubled watch Gorilla Good Girl today and caught up. This is one I do, and he's recommending it to me. I don't know anything about this one, Ross.
I'm gonna have to find it. Hold on a minute.
And then John Knight points out that today is Colleen Clinkenbeard's birthday, the voice of Monkey D. Luffy in One Piece, Ezra Scarlet in Fairy Tail, Mocha Akashiya in Rosario Vampire, and Risa Ayanagi in Psycho Pass. Well, happy birthday to her.
Which one was he recommending?
Uh, Gorilla Good Girl? Question mark.
Okay, I'm trying to find it. Black Butler, don't care. The Unaware, I'm the evil lord of an intergalactic empire. Summer Pocket. No. That's the rock band one. Two Perfect Saints.
The Gorilla God's go-to girl.
Okay.
I think that's the one
Oh
he's
yeah, I see
talking
it.
about.
The Gorilla Gods go-to girl. In a world where individuals receive blessings from various animal gods at the age of 16, Sophia Wheeler, a timid countess, unexpectedly receives the blessing of the gorilla god, said to be the strongest in combat. Though she longs for a peaceful school life, her rare and powerful ability attracts the attention of the royal knights, who scout her as an apprentice. Despite her efforts to hide her overwhelming strength, she can't help but stand out. Meanwhile, the promising young knights around her watch over her with kindness. Sounds almost reverse harem even though I know it's probably not.
Yeah, and harem stuff not really my thing.
Well, it's not listed as a harem, so it says romance. It
Yeah.
doesn't say harem, so it might just be your typical romance.
Yeah. And the description sounds okay. There's just like I said, just way too much going on. Oh, that drop. Yep, that drop. Uh, for example, the last of my list to drop, Go Go Loser, the first episode of Go Go Loser Ranger season 2 dropped today. And no, I didn't watch it yet. But um um And Ross says, "Am I the only one watching the new season of Aaron-san?"
I didn't watch the first season, even though it's on my list.
Uh, I didn't watch that one either.
It's cute. That's all I can say. Um, I haven't watched it, but I know about it and I've seen clips from it. It's kind of like My Tiny Senpai to an extent. You got a really, really shy girl bonding with kind of a stoic MC.
Hmm. Okay. Da, da, da. But yeah, I have not watched a lot of anime this week just because we got way too busy, and this week is also super busy.
I hear you.
And convention season is late for us this year.
Well,
Typically anime Boston and PAX are in March and or April, and they're both in May this year.
mm, well, I have to say, was very surprised and am somewhat excited, considering we get to meet one of our guests while you're down here. Um,
I know.
what are the odds?
A one in a million. But also, I was looking at Anime-Zing's website because earlier today we were watching a Tokyo Lens video.
Hmm.
Um, and apparently they're offering for purchase basically a discounted rate to get you into both Anime-Zing and the horror convention that Jay's putting on or going to,
Huh. Okay.
which if nothing else we'll actually get to meet him and have a drink. And
Well, I have an idea. The drink part may be a little out with my idea, but basically the farmers market is very close to the fairgrounds and not that far from downtown Raleigh where the convention center is. And they it's a full service rest. They have a full service restaurant. So
ooh,
I was thinking something along the lines of a breakfast there, because also I haven't been to that place in a hot minute.
yeah, I enjoy farmers markets up here, and I like food, so you've already got me.
So, because I'm just thinking with the farmers market not being that far away from the fairgrounds and not being far away from this thing, and we could get there before Animazement and the horror convention really kick off, and have some time beforehand, because I just think that with how late a lot of the events at Animazement run, especially with the 18 plus event, it's going to be a little difficult to do much in the nighttime hours. You get what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, no, I just no. The idea is I'm gonna be down there. I'd like to see people in person.
I know what you mean.
Um,
You're a foodie, and to an extent, and and you are also excited to see people while you're down here.
I, oh yeah, no, I could literally put together an entire blog just of food I have eaten in other countries and compare it to American food.
Speaking of which, My friend Matt, who's been on the show several times before, just got back from Japan earlier this week. He was gone for about 2 weeks because his mom is a Disney fanatic and wants to visit every Disney theme park.
So they went to Tokyo. So they did Tokyo Disney both sides.
Yep. And while they were there, he lived there for a couple of months, studying there. So he took the opportunity while they were there to actually kind of show them around where he had stayed and where he had traveled while he was living there.
Nice. Now, I one of our goals is to eventually just visit, just see the entire country. So we're already planning a trip to go up north.
To Hokkaido in that area.
Uh, yeah, do like a week up north, going working starting. I want to say Sapporo, starting up north, and then working our way down, and then doing the second week in Tokyo.
Well, just make sure you don't go up there during the winter because Japan, one particular area, has the record for the entire world on snowfall, for
Yeah,
average snowfall.
I'm we've already kind of agreed that in all likelihood we're going to be going in October, November. But if we do go in February, because we did our first trip to Japan in February, it wasn't that bad.
Okay. Oh, and that was the other thing. So while they were in Japan, they got to see one of the most iconic things in Japan because it was that time.
Oh, they were there for cherry blossom season?
Yep.
Nice.
And to my understanding, he said he was telling me that's part of the reason he picked around this time.
Yep. And no, we made a choice. We chose not to go during cherry blossom season specifically because um like any good tourist area, everything is more expensive during cherry blossom season.
Mm, I can see that.
According to every all the research we've done. And but going back to the chat, cuz we got Ross and John had to have some comments. Uh Question for you, Darren, from an anime that was brought up earlier. Who so far of the two episodes, despite giving off snafu vibes, do you think our main male character is going to choose in a boy and girl?
I haven't seen the episodes. I only saw the clip, so I
Uh,
can't. I can't comment.
and Ross offers his opinion, but
Well,
I haven't seen the
it
show either.
about to say it's a well-known fact that most of the time girls with blue hair lose. So there's your indicator right there.
It's the girl with Ross says he thinks it's the girl with long hair in the braid.
AKA black hair. Because, like I said, when it comes to the girls that win, they either have red hair or they have black hair, or
Sometimes
sometimes
pink,
brown. Sometimes brown and sometimes pink. But the blue haired girls never win.
and and uh and I I didn't know this existed either. Apparently in 2 days it's National Anime Day. Thank you for pointing that one out, John.
April 15th, but that's tax day.
Tax Day does not. I don't know. I get nothing.
I'm just saying, though, of all days, why the day the IRS has to bully the rest of us?
Maybe April 15th was the first day that anime was available in the United States? I don't know.
I don't, I don't know.
I don't know. I just didn't. There's a national day for everything, it seems, and honestly, cool that cool that there's a national anime day. Um, and tax day. Well, my tax return has come and gone.
What return?
I get money back every year.
Lucky you.
But then again, I don't own a house. I don't own a house. I don't have kids. I only live in one of the most expensive cities.
Fair. Because everyone that moves here flat out tells me, in terms of general cost of living, it is not that bad here. And that's probably why people move here.
Yup.
If you can get a 3-bed, 2-bath house with a decent-ish sized lot for under 300,000, you're good.
Um. Yeah. See, you see in this city, you're looking at for not even a condo goes for under 3.
Oh wow, that's crazy. If I'm
That's
not, if I'm not mistaken, Raleigh was listed as one of the more affordable cities in the country.
Oh, I don't doubt it. No, it's Boston. Boston is up there after New York and most of California as one of the most expensive areas.
Northern California, to my understanding, isn't terrible. It's predominantly Southern California.
I say California, I largely mean different cities, although San Francisco is up there
San
and that
Francisco is its own entity.
uh Los Angeles, San Francisco, San Diego.
Yeah, those are the three that,
Those are the
or
big
Sacramento.
those are the big ones that are pricey. Uh but again, I just kind of lump it all together as California because there are pockets where it's less expensive, but it is what it is. But no, I'm aware that that as long as I choose to live in the city, I will probably never own a house.
Okay, so so top 10 most expensive cities per capita. Number one is Manhattan.
Yep.
Number two is Honolulu.
Okay.
Number three is San Jose.
Yep.
Number four, San Francisco.
Yep.
Number five, Brooklyn.
It- I would have put I wouldn't have separated Manhattan and Brooklyn. I would have just called it New York, but okay.
Um, six, Orange County, California.
Yep.
Seven, Queens.
Again, your list 3 of the 5 boroughs, I would argue that that's just New York City.
Um, eight, LA.
I'm surprised
Nine,
that's so low.
nine, Boston.
Surprising no one.
10, San Diego.
So I was largely correct. Boston, New York, and California.
I keep forgetting about Hawaii, honestly.
I didn't forget about Hawaii. I just forget I just don't. It's so small that I forget per capita.
Mhm. Yeah, you know, it's kind of funny, really. One of the guys I watch on YouTube, he is a landscaper and he moved to San Jose, California. And when he drops numbers on projects he completed and how much money these people are dropping on a project, it's crazy. Like this job right here to rip out a backyard and put in like a patio with a pool or something, or just a patio with like minimal landscaping or artificial turf or trees or whatever. I mean, these customers are just casually paying 300, 500, $700,000 like it's nothing, and I'm just like, and everyone in the comments is like, that's highway robbery. And he always has to remind them, look, I'm in one of the most expensive cities in the country. My costs are equally as high.
And that's what people don't take into account. Um,
I
you
mean,
know,
why do you think many people up north that move down here make money when they sell their house up north and move down here? It's because the cost of living is significantly higher up there. So you get a house that's worth $500,000 up there, maybe worth 200 something thousand dollars down here. They sell that $500,000 house. They take the money that's good in the entire country, move down here, and then they can afford the house and then some here.
yep. Oh yeah. No, I've um and Ross attempting to bring us back onto some semblance of a topic.
But that's
Uh
boring.
I know, right? Is asking if we've seen the Goofy movie documentary.
I've seen the Goofy movie, not a documentary about it.
The documentary's new. I know it exists. Haven't
But,
watched it yet.
well, that's the first step, acknowledging its existence.
Uh, We found it on Disney Plus when we were looking for something else.
Ah,
I think we were checking on release dates for stuff that's coming up. Because and to top it off, all the live action stuff we follow is starting soon as well. Because new seasons of Andor, new season of Last of Us. Because hey, I still occasionally watch live action television. But and John, has that officially been announced? Because if John's thing is if it's official, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 7 Steel Ball Run is actually going to be animated.
I believe it. They're gonna
And
end up doing the entire JoJo series.
husband in the background is listening and says listening to me anyway and says that yes, that actually is official. Do you know anything
Uh,
about when it's airing? Ah, ah. Okay. Um, but yeah, apparently the announcement is just that they're working allegedly no release date or anything like that, just yeah, it's happening. And Ross says that he saw the documentary of Dark Side of Power Rangers yesterday, and oh my gosh, Power Rangers in real life was villain dark.
Mm.
Good Power Rangers was never really my thing, but I love that description, Ross. That's a good description.
I was not really a I was not really a the Power Rangers person growing up.
I think for me that was I was too old for that when it was popular,
Uh,
or it just missed me completely. But there's but husband and our roommate both Power Rangers fans, to the point where husband is actually doing a White Ranger cosplay for Anime Boston this year,
okay,
complete complete with the official helmet. And he's been working on 3D printing the sword.
nice.
But that's but yes, the 3D pretty much at this point with the 3D printer, can is the limitation is can we imagine it and can we find a model for it? Um, but oh wow, Death's laundering schemes. I'm not sure what you mean, Ross, but yeah, that sounds dark. Now, Darren, what's your thoughts on documentaries as a whole, like as a genre?
Um, there've been some interesting ones. I haven't watched a whole lot of them. But it's always neat to have a professional or outside look on events that have happened. Um, like especially like on series like that we liked or events that happened. It's always interesting to get the different points of view from everybody.
Yeah, because with having access to so many different streaming apps and actually looking at what's going through the list of what's available, there's documentary sections on each one, and there are things you'd never know that it's finding a whole lot of really interesting stuff. And that and Ross is getting into some of the darker stuff, and it's kind of topics we touched on with some of the voice actors. Uh apparently apparently Power Rangers, the actors were not union until it became a Disney property, and they just kept replacing and firing actors and basically paying them garbage if they got paid at all.
Hmm.
And yeah, the dark side of Hollywood. I I don't know. This, like I said, this is not a documentary I watched. This was not a franchise I ever really was interested in, but that's not okay. Uh, I yeah, I don't know. I got nothing.
Likewise.
Uh, and apparently there's a documentary called series called Hollywood Demons. I'm not surprised by that. I'm not surprised that exists. I think I'm more surprised I didn't find it already.
Mm.
Because when I get bored, when I get restless, I tend to go down some very odd rabbit holes. And it's on Max, which means I can go looking for it later. But apparently Doug had a long day. Eh. And John's actually successfully bringing us back on a track, uh, asking why I ended up only watching 4 episodes of Honey Lemon Soda. John, to answer that, really, it just wasn't grabbing me. There was so much other other better romance animes, and the main character just got to a point of the main characters both.
Which main character, the girl or the guy?
I'm gonna say both got to a point of why do I care?
E- I watched it. It wasn't terrible. Um, I've definitely seen worse. Um, you just got a girl, and you find out why as the series goes on. Sheltered by her parents, per se, almost to the point it's obsessive, particularly her dad. Um, as to why she doesn't do a lot of things because, well, for one, you know she had a curfew, remember?
Mm-hmm.
Well, set by her parents for being overprotective. Da, 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 da. Also, just trying to, your typical teenager or middle schooler trying to hide everything from their parents, making them think everything is fine when things are not fine,
But
and then learning how to open up later.
I mean, I've just seen those things done so much better.
I know. And you know, it's kind of a shame. A lot of people said the manga was significantly better, but eh,
And it was just one of those. It just didn't. It was just one of those. It didn't grab me. It was just like it was. I was hoping it would be better than it was, but you know they can't all be good they can't all be top tier anime.
nope. There's got to be some dumpster fires, and there's got to be some mediocres.
And I mean I've watched a fair amount of fun mediocre shonen even recently. And John says, I finally finished Headhunted to Another World, and it was a solid isekai anime, fun characters, clean animation, and good music. Did you watch that one, or was that Doug?
That was Doug.
Yeah, I'm as a broadly general rule. I'm not the biggest fan of isekais. I will say Zenshu, I when I finally finished it, it was actually really, really good.
Good to hear.
Um, I really enjoyed that one, but it didn't feel like an isekai. And news just in from social media says Ross, they're making an animated Ghostbusters series for Netflix. But why? Ghostbusters was another franchise I just never got into. But why do they need to keep bringing more content for the same franchises?
Because why not? They're their money pit. They're revenuers.
But will it be any good, or are they just, or is it just going to be mediocre hot mess that's going to bank on the nostalgia factor?
Mm, both.
And I suppose this all goes back to my some of my commentary about how nothing is original anymore and everything is a reboot or a sequel or based on something else,
Hmm.
and
And
anything that is original largely gets overshadowed by all the sequels.
well, to be fair, there's been so much done over the years that, and it's so out there now versus it used to be. Like before TV and radio, you you only knew what you could communicate with to your friends and whatnot within a certain distance of you, and not everyone had access to everything going on at once.
Yep.
So once you've hit that point, it's kind of yeah, seen that before. Eh. It just kind of it, it 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 just dumbs down the excitement because you get used to it. It desensationalizes you, desensitizes you to the shock factor of being unique.
I mean, yeah, I remember when I was young, I used to be super excited to go to movies, to see movies.
Yep.
And I don't know if this is a post I don't know if this is a COVID thing or just an evolution of the entertainment industry. I remember growing up and there'd be at least a year between the time a movie was in theaters
In the time it was released on
and
VHS.
VHS or even DVD. And now in some cases it's a matter of months, if that.
Mm-hmm. Or about to say, a lot of times it's not even that.
In some, and I mean during actual lockdown, I know Disney for sure did a thing. I'm sure other streaming services did as well, where instead of going to theaters, you could pay an extra $20 to watch the movie, to stream the movie while it was still in theaters.
Mm.
Now, granted, this is because of things that were released like in uh, late January through like early March of 2020, when people before when people were like afraid to leave their houses, rightfully so. But I don't know. That's just kind of my ramble about the industry. And Ross says, speaking of sequels, 9 years later, next Friday, The Accountant 2 will be playing in theaters.
The what?
Exactly. Um, just, I mean, I mean, for example, how many versions of Snow White do we need to see?
Mm-hmm. As
And
many as possible.
Ross answers my rhetorical question about Ghostbusters animated series. Why Ghostbusters animated series being made is because the last one was 30 years ago. You know what? Fair. I I'll give you that one, Ross. I was just thinking there was some live action movies out far more recently than that, and because Ghostbusters is a franchise that for the longest time everyone wanted more of, and then once more came out, everyone was like, "No, this is garbage. We don't want this." But you can't win. That's one of those. That's one of those. No matter what, no matter what, no matter what the media is, someone's always going to be unhappy about its existence.
Pretty much. There's always going to be someone that dislikes or is going to disapprove of what you say, think, or what happens, either because of moral reasons, personal feeling, or just the desire to be annoying for attention.
And and at the end of the day, sometimes different opinions is a good thing.
Exactly. It creates debate. It sparks ideas. It sparks
I mean,
conversation.
I mean, on a
Look,
very, I mean, to take this in a very silly direction. I mean, half the point of our show at this point is the three of us giving each other a hard time about our choices in anime.
exactly. Even though we seem to give you and Doug seem to give each other more hard times about anime than y'all do me sometimes.
Yeah,
And I wonder if it's because I share both of y'all's tastes more so than y'all share each other's.
that is entirely possible. Also, I will agree that up until very recently, ecchi just kind of didn't exist.
Well, and that's the problem. Ecchi used to be like everywhere. And ever since 2018, 2019, and really interspecies reviewers, there haven't been any good ecchi anime. Like there just hasn't. Like the whole ecchi genre seems to have died after or let's see, World's End Harem. I think was one of the last quote unquote ecchi shows we got.
And there are some that have, and I say this based on the tags. There are some shows in recent seasons that have been labeled as ecchi. Whether or not they are, whether or not they're any good, is a different story. And I cannot speak to that.
Well, if I really had to think about it, the only quote unquote ecchi anime that I've seen in recent years is Chain Soldier, but even then, that's bare minimum. Um, because ecchi also used to mean uncensored. Like there are very few shows where they're having to censor stuff anymore. Like there used to be the accidental uh nipple reveals and whatnot all the dang time. And now that's something that is becoming rare. Like the it became famous. The white beam of lights that used to be so famous, there you don't see them anymore.
And Ross is saying plus size elf last year was an etchy.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like mainstream noticeable etchy. Um,
Uncensored. I this is an I don't know. Uh, anything recently that has been in my anime list with the etchy tag has just been a just kind of been not for me, but that has nothing to do with etchy. That has everything to do with just kind of the description doesn't grab me, or it's also an isekai, also other things I don't enjoy.
mhm. Well, I mean, if I want pure, unadulterated etchy, I could always go back to some of the other stuff. Let's see, what
Um,
can I get back to?
and Ross says uncensored on High Dive.
Okay. But wasn't that also a short anime series and not a full length 24 episode or 12 episode series? Not that kind of series, my bad. A full wasn't that like an 8-minute episode and not a 20-minute episode series?
I don't know.
I'm fairly certain it was like an 8-minute per episode. I'm talking about the last etchy anime that was actually a full length episode.
I
I
mean,
did watch the first episode of Plus Size Elf. I just never continued it.
it was 12 minutes, 12 episode series.
Okay, so
I
I
mean,
have not seen a 20. I have not seen a normal anime length episode that I would consider etchy in a very long time.
and I will say that husband and I are working our way through interspecies reviewers, and it is actually entertaining.
Glad you like it. How many episodes have you gone through so far?
4 or 5.
Okay, okay. I think it was episode 8 or 9 was the one that made us go, okay, they're taking this a little too far, but
I mean, the whole
um
thing is a little too far, but
question, who's your favorite character of the who's your favorite character so far?
I I don't know. I think they're all just kind of they're all morons.
Even the harpy running the bar.
The harpy running the bar is kind of hilarious, and every time she tries to convince Krim not to go with the others.
She's the only one with sense to an extent.
Agreed, and it's just hilarious. It is hilarious.
But then again, the lizard man who is a virgin that always says he'll have to check out these places and then never does is also hilarious in his own right.
Um, and well, and Ross says, while we're on the subject, uh, Darren, is panty and stocking anime good or bad? Should I watch it? Says
Never
Ross.
watched never watched it, no comment. All I
Uh,
know is all I know is it's basically Monica and Jamie Marquis shouting obscenities throughout most of the episodes throughout the series.
I've heard good things. I have friends who absolutely love it, but I've never seen it.
Likewise.
So, Ross, I would say if you have the time and it remotely interests you, watch an episode and let us know what you think.
I'm still curious to see what they're doing because they originally announced that there's a new panty and stocking project in the works, and I forget when that's supposed to be released, but that's going to be interesting.
Um, agreed. And John Knight says Aesthetica of a Rogue Hero and Prison School are the only two etchy that he's watched.
Aesthetica of a Rogue Hero was a fun one.
And Ross says, doesn't interest me, I'll pass. Fair enough. Nope. I think I can honestly say the only two etchy that I actually watched would be Aho Girl and and Interspecies Reviewers.
And Aho Girl is very tame, and Interspecies Reviewers is in a class of its own.
I I will say I didn't. I I did watch it from start to finish. I'm not gonna say I liked it.
But at least you completed it, unlike a certain Doug.
Who isn't here to defend that?
Yeah, I finished.
Yeah,
I finished.
you finished the idol anime that he picked for you.
Yep, you finished the stupid anime I picked for you.
I am half convinced you picked something really stupid, knowing I'd complain about it.
Pretty much. I'm just glad that we were all on the same page about the dog.
The dog was the only redeeming quality of that show. The dog was amazing and did not deserve the treatment it got.
I'm not gonna lie though, I did like the disciplinary committee chair.
That was something else. But I've
Now,
watched I've watched and finished worse anime.
now, I really got a question for you. Who was the more devious character? Our main character or her mother?
I would argue the mother. Because
Even though
where do you
even
think
though
the
the
daughter
even though the mother got freaked out at one of his ideas one time?
gets it from?
That's a great question. Haha, John.
Exactly. Uh,
Um, I take that back. There is one other ecchi anime, but it wasn't. It's still not the kind of ecchi that I'm used to with tits bouncing everywhere, uncensored. But even though there was a lot of uh, insinuating of stuff going on, and that was gushing over magical girls, which I still don't know how it got a second season.
I got nothing there. Ross says, switching anime subjects, asking me, what is your opinion on Renaissance style anime to which girls who stand their ground and fight back while still looking graceful in a certain way? Ross, give me an example of a show because I
Sacred Blacksmith.
because on the idea of a strong but graceful female lead, I am all about all of that. But I'm curious as to what examples.
Well, not so much strong, but Violet Evergarden.
That's on
That
my list. I still haven't gotten around to that one.
that one will make you cry. If it does not make you cry, you are a heartless monster. One episode in particular, I don't care who
I
you are, it should make you cry.
I cry at the drop of a hat, so that's not a very high
Okay,
bar for me.
okay. If this one, okay, so if that's the case, you're gonna be bawling over over that one episode that I'm thinking of.
Entirely possible. There have been like these super sappy endings
Oh
of
no,
a
this is not sappy at all. This is like it'll probably be one of the most heartfelt cries that an anime will ever give you. Literally.
um and Ross has given me an example from the fall called May I Ask for One Final Request. I didn't watch that one. Uh, to the phone, my anime list.
Mm.
And it is not coming up on my anime list.
Ross, is it one that aired or one that is going to air?
Oh, coming this fall. Coming this fall, not last fall. And either way, a search brought up nothing.
Uh, what was the name of it again?
Uh, may I ask for one final request? You know what? Let's try the website.
Hold on. Let's see. That's oh, may I ask for one final thing? Okay, I see it. In the middle of a ball, Scarlett's fiance Kyle suddenly calls off their engagement. She's falsely accused of being a bully, and people unfairly call her a villainess. The aristocrats and noble families all denounce her. For years, she had to put up with his abuse and idiocy, but she just can't take it anymore. At her wits' end, she asks for one last favor to give him a good fist in the face. So begins Scarlett's story of revenge against Kyle and his cronies, a fantasy about an elegant yet rebellious fighter who doesn't let anyone take advantage of her.
That sounds like it could be fantastic, but also could be very cookie cutter.
Okay, sorry, Fall's actually looking to be a very interesting season, just off a couple of these.
Well,
OP,
let's
OPM 3, Spy Family 3, for you, the final season of Boku no Hero.
uh
uh, To Your Eternity season 3. Several other sequels.
a whole lot of sequels. Uh one that looks like it is the description is or the English title Past the Monster Meet Milady.
Yes, I've
That
heard about
that's
that one.
that one. The title alone makes me inclined to believe it is something along the lines of a knockoff of Delicious in Dungeon.
Here's one for you. Sentenced to be a Hero. The prison records of Penal Hero Unit number 9004.
I I saw that. I'm curious.
Then we got This Monster Wants to Eat Me.
There's not a lot listed for fall yet, but it's a lot of season 2. It's a lot of season X.
Hmm.
Uh,
What? Oh, wow.
what?
So there's something interesting going on. So Disney has something released it uh, scheduled for release in fall. It's called Disney Twisted Wonderland the animation.
I've heard good things about Twisted Wonderland.
Episode of Hearts Slavial.
I don't know, but uh, actually, did you know Call of the Night season 2 is coming in July?
Yes, yes, I did.
But yeah, we've got looking at summer. Out of the top 9 listed on summer, 7 of them are season 2s.
I believe it.
Or no, 6 of them are season 2s, 1 is a season 4. And yeah, and summer is literally a whole lot of sequels. And then we get into the not sequels. But yeah, summer might literally just be I watch nothing but season 2s. That is entirely possible. Uh and speaking of Call of the Night, John's asking why I didn't finish, why I only watched 2 episodes of that. I've talked about this at the time. I did not like Call of the Night. It was the story was not for me. Everything Doug and Darren had good to say about it, I agreed with them. Just from an objective standpoint, it was the art was gorgeous. The music was spot on. I just did not like the writing, did not like the characters, and for me, that's a deal breaker. And speaking of sequels, yesterday it was, according to Ross, yesterday it was announced that there's a new Ghost in the Shell project anime in the works. Did you
Hmm.
ever did you ever see any of that?
Nope.
I saw the live action movie. I understand the controversy, but the movie was fun and a good movie to watch on a flight. Because hey, when you have a 3 hour flight or longer, it's a perfect time to catch up on all those movies you meant to watch and didn't,
Yep.
without having to pay for any of it.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, but yeah, no, I think as I've gotten, I feel like with all of the anime that comes out every season, and we go through and we go through the list on my anime list, and we kind of go over, who likes what, and then just by the time the season starts, I end up forgetting most of what we talked about, and like a lot of the anime is okay, but there's very little these days that stands out the way the classics did.
Hmm.
Like, one of the things on my list is that we haven't started yet is Lazarus, the new show made by the creators of Cowboy Bebop, and I'm expecting good, and I have high expectations. But will it live up to Cowboy Bebop? Like,
Gonna have to wait and see.
exactly. Like, out of all the anime we've been watching the past, we'll call it 2 years, has anything really stood out in the same way some of the stuff from like the 90s or very early 2000s. Like most people have seen Cowboy Bebop, most people at least know of Full Metal Alchemist.
I have still not seen Bebop. Sakurai.
We might have to remedy that.
Yeah. Remember, I was introduced to anime very late. I was in 2012, 2013 ish.
I have been I also I ended up, because of how I was exposed to anime, I ended up skipping a lot of the so-called classics until 2013 or later.
Yep, I
I
know what you mean.
I only saw what other people wanted to watch, and subsequently the reason why for years I absolutely refused to watch dubs is because my first exposure to a dub was as Mangadao.
I've seen clips from that show, and I'm like, okay,
Honestly, I think you would appreciate that show. It was a really it was a really well done slice of life and really funny, and it is to an extent a product of its time. Like some of the jokes made at the male teacher's expense you couldn't get away with today.
and that's the fun part. Making the jokes that you can't supposedly wouldn't be able to get away with nowadays.
But
That's the fun of it.
but that one I would recommend you watch a few episodes. Um okay. Ross is saying summer anime recommendation for me, look up Secrets of the Silent Witch. Monica Everett, the Silent Witch, is the only mage in the world who can use enchanted magecraft, a true hero who single handedly defeated a legendary black dragon. However, this young genius is actually super duper shy. That's right, she learned to cast spells silently just to avoid speaking in public. And despite her power, she has zero self confidence. Now, Monica has been tasked with secretly guarding the second prince. Can she keep it together as she faces both the evil forces targeting the prince and the terrors of social interaction? All right. That does sound like fun. And that sounds like something I totally would have read when I was a teenager. Cuz I definitely read a lot of fantasy when I was much younger. All right. Any other thoughts, Darren?
I'm thinking. I'm sitting in my thinking chair like Steve and thinking.
I wish I wish Doug was here so we could actually bug him about the Minecraft movie.
Did you go see it or
N-
no?
no.
Okay. I have no intent to go and see it. So, in fact, I never played Minecraft. Never did.
I've Minecraft is a game that I have tried to play, got bored with it, but loved watching other people play it.
Okay.
Achievement Hunters Let's Play Minecraft was something. The watching them do stupid things in Minecraft was great. And Ross's summer anime recommendation to you is Welcome to the Outcast Restaurant.
Okay.
That one also sounds like fun.
And which one is that? I'm sorry.
Welcome to the Outcasts Restaurant.
Oh, okay. A lot. I love how there's so many animes about restaurants, and each one of them is so far managed to have a somewhat different spin on it. Enough to
Yeah.
keep you going back for more.
Yep. And John Knight says social media posted the video where people are going crazy about Chicken Jockey going back to Minecraft the movie.
Okay, I have no idea what that means, but okay.
I'm not entirely sure. I know it's a meme. I heard uh, a podcast I follow talked about this because they took their 5-year-old to see the Minecraft movie
Mm.
and talked about it. And it's like, okay,
Yeah, no.
meh. And Ross says that, yeah, there were some kids got forced out by police out of a showing. I did hear about that. Excuse me.
Good excuse.
And I think that's Doug in the chat saying
Oh
that
my.
the Minecraft movie was better than I thought it would be. And if that's not Doug, I apologize. But the comment stands. But really, I suppose this gets into we're looking at a new wave of video game adaptation movies. And yep, Doug is in the van on the way to the hotel and will not be able to join us at all tonight, as was expected. Doug, you'll have to tell us about the Minecraft movie next week. But now, in general, what are people's thoughts on video game adaptations in media? And Ross, have a good time. Have a good time at the movies and let me know how that one is because Jason Statham is an actor I actually like. Did we lose you, Darren?
No, you didn't lose me. I'm just trying to think of what else to say.
Eh,
Because I'm trying to keep conversation going here. Because we
yeah,
only got what, 15? 20,
20-ish.
Eh,
Yeah, no, I'm at the point. I've reached the point of rambling.
uh, sure.
Oh God.
Ramble on.
Uh,
Now it's time to sing my song. Sing my song.
and Doug's asking, oh God, Doug's asking about Apothecary Diaries, and really, Doug, you went there, really?
Well, he has to since he's not here.
Yes, but Apothecary Diaries is so good. I'm caught up. I'm caught up. This episode, this specific episode that I watched this morning, really felt like a Monster of the Week episode, but still good. And as for the frogs, well, about that. I was actually reading an article where the writer of the light novel didn't actually want the romance to be as pronounced as it is when she was writing it. Just it was supposed to be just more historical fiction slice of life, but people but people wanted the romance, so it got added in. And Ross says, to answer my question, I guess okay, maybe if the regarding video game adaptations, maybe if they put the main character that have solo movies for entertainment of the audiences, they could put in first person view to make it look like the audience are the main character through the eyes. That that would be a really interesting take, Ross. Huh. But I bring this up as a segue from the Minecraft movie, because there's been some really good video game adaptations in TV and film, and some really bad ones, and very little in between. And just kind of throwing it out there to see what everybody else thinks.
Mhm.
Be- because apparently a Zelda movie is being made. Yeah, I heard rumors about that. I'm curious to see what they do with that. And apparently, like like when they announced the Borderlands movie, I was super excited because that's like one of my favorite franchise video game franchises. And then I still haven't gotten around to watching it because I saw the trailer and heard all the negative commentary, and it's like, okay, I need to go in expecting it to be hot garbage.
Well, that's the problem with reviews nowadays. Whether they're good or bad, they're attention, and that's what people look for.
And I suppose on a completely different note, I mean, when the Harry Potter video game came out, when the Harry Potter video game came out, and all the people that were against J.K. Rowling were posting about how they're going to boycott this game. So many people had never heard of this game and didn't even know this game existed until they saw all that. So to kind of, it's like a lot of the social media is a very big attention, gives attention to a lot of things that we wouldn't necessarily see. Doug, we'll see you next week when you're back. And Ross is saying, can we get a movie for Metroid Samus Origin? A Metroid movie could be interesting. But yeah, I don't know. But I suppose this is what happens when. All right, Darren, here's some humor for you. How about a Mega Man movie where Ross is Mega Man? Ross, that's funny. Just because I never played the Mega Man games. I've only seen clips, and I don't know if there's enough to make a movie out of that. Although I'm sure there are some people that would absolutely love that. I did not know that. Ross in the chat is saying Mega Man is short and he's also short. He's sure he could pull it off. I Ross, I'm right there with you. I am short as well. But then again, most people don't believe that. They think I'm significant. They think I'm taller than I am, but I think some of that is just my loud nature. But and and more comments from Ross. Jumanji 4 has been announced for December of next year. But why again? But why? Sequels make money. I understand this, but not everything needed a sequel. Like I but did did Jumanji even need a sequel at all, let alone 3 and 4? Cuz really, well, but then again, I could ramble about this about the whole my thoughts on any of this, Darren? Reactions, comments? And with 10 minutes to go, either we lost Darren or he's just being quiet again. Yeah, I don't know, Ross. I've only seen the first Jumanji, the one with Robin Williams. And subsequently I heard the sequel movies were okay, but I'm just like, eh. But then again, lately I haven't watched a lot of movies. And what are folks going to watch on National Anime Day? I don't know. Because it's during the week, maybe nothing. Because I have because I have a busy week this week. And Ross says to John's question that he might watch Meiruku-chan. But yeah, I don't know. But any other final comments from the chat? Because we have definitely kind of gone all over the place, as is the norm when there's no Doug. And Ross says he's just glad that as summer gets closer, his life is calming down. Hey, good life is getting calmer for you. Here's to hoping everything stays good. Yes, John, Lazarus is on my watch list. It's on HBO. For me, it's on HBO Max. I haven't started it yet, so I will probably have something to say about that next week. But on that lovely note, I know it's a few minutes early, but I think it is that time where 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 we say goodnight. As always, thank you all so much for joining us. For those and thank you, John, Ross, and everybody else for the commentary and the discussion. And Ross, thank you so much for your suggestions. The Pit is actually on our watch list uh, with not enough free time, but it is on the list. But Ross, thank you so much for your recommendations. John, thank you all so much for the chat, the discussion, some very interesting things brought up tonight. And stay happy, stay safe, try and stay sane. Have have a good week, and keep watching anime. We'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.